Taylor, after that marathon of a game, once you finally get the final out, what was that like? Just that entire moment right there.
Uh, just a surreal feeling, and obviously just everything we've been working towards this moment, and just to really just grab everybody and give hugs and you know just finally feel that feeling, especially after last night, and just being able to bounce back, and obviously just gonna enjoy it for a little bit, but job's not done, and we're ready to handle business in Tucson.
I'll ask you what I asked Mike. What do you say about what Tim's doing at this point?
Just truly an inspiration. I think every time he's hit a bomb since, I just can't help but give him a hug and just embrace him, and it's something I've never seen before, and uh, couldn't happen to a better dude, obviously. And just I'm so thankful he's on our team and he's our captain. He does everything the right way, and I just look up to him.
Parrish.
Hey, Taylor, with the ball flying out the way it was today, how do you, as a power pitcher, a guy who throws really hard, have to be aware of that in a game like this?
Yes, sir. I think, it was kind of talking to Laugh down in the bullpen. He was just like, it's gonna be one of those days you gotta battle against, when teams are doing that, and when it's gonna be a day like this. And I just think the biggest thing is, trying to keep them off balance, and mixing it up, and just doing, just filling it up, and you know, making them hit your pitch basically, and the pitch that you execute. And so that's the biggest thing. And just grinding it out in moments like that, and just never giving up.
It looked like you were using a lot more of your off speed, especially in the eighth. Were y'all calling the game that way because of how the balls were reacting?
Um, Not necessarily. I just think, with how I can command my curveball, and how Coach B, likes to call the game with me. It's just, when that's working, just it definitely helps. And then mix it, and then because a lot of times people will try and sit on my fastball, and so that's the thing. So just keeping them off balance, and throwing the off speed every now and then definitely helps, and then complements my fastball. And so just had the right game plan there, and went well.
Thank you.
Nick.
Taylor, this pitching staff's been through so much this year with Gunnar and Doug and Maxwell getting hurt, and the bullpen going back and forth with who's used where. For you guys to get to this point where you're at, how impressive are you with the progression of this pitching staff from where it was in February to where it is now?
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show, like, the message from the top of just, from our coaches to our leaders and everything like that is just things are going to happen. And obviously this team's been through a lot, but just to see some of the guys step up, like Jack Doherty, even Brandon Johnson didn't travel a couple times, and now he's a guy for us. It's just credit to those guys for not giving up, and just almost putting their nose to the grindstone and just doing it on their own, even maybe while we were away and stuff. That just is you need guys like that, because when people go down, it creates a story for someone else.
Last call for questions for Taylor. Back to Chris.
Taylor, it looks like you broke the fence in the video. Can you talk a little bit about the emotion of coming to the fence, or celebrating with the fans in the outfield?
Yeah, just especially it being my last game here, just this fan base means everything to us, and students, obviously, left field, and everyone in the stadium. Just it's just great to be able to celebrate as closely as we could with them. So just had to climb the fence and just show my appreciation, and everything they do for us. That's obviously part of the reason I came back, and to win a regional as well. But job's not done, and we're trying to book a trip to Omaha.